So originally in Total Drama, Revenge of the Island. In this clip, we see Mike makes it before dawn, so he should go on the other team, but I guess for drama, Chris pretended to not see him, but in this alternate reality, he goes on the other team. So now, up until Mike, the teams are the same. So now, Zoe goes on the mutant maggots. Now, in the original, Chris looks over Mike and goes to Dawn. But since we're doing it differently, Mike will go on the toxic rats, and Dawn will go to the mutant maggots. Now, everyone after Mike is most likely on the other team. The weren't in the original. Figuring things out. So basically the prizes are the same. So since Dawn and Dakota don't get the hacksaw, Dakota won't mess up with the hacksaw, but since Maria and Joe aren't on a team, Joe might be able to cut the rope with the axe on the totem without Maria wasting time and jumping on it, and B won't be able to use Sam as the base of the human ladder and might have to wait for Lighting to come back to use him, or maybe someone else. So then I think the mutant maggots will be close to winning. But I think Dakota might stay behind with the paparazzi, and no one will notice, until the toxic rats come down, and Chris tells the mutant maggots they were missing someone. But maybe Dawn notices a missing aura. But I still think that in Total Drama fashion, they'd want to go for a twist. So I think everyone would vote Dakota for making them lose the challenge. And maybe Dakota would come back as an intern in episode 2. Also, Sam wouldn't start getting attracted to Dakota and won't start liking her. So in this one, only 3 people fessed up to a truth or lie thing, which were Sam, Brick, and BB got disqualified for not speaking, so the mutant maggots have the advantage and would probably win without those glasses. So who would they vote? Well, Maria might vote Stacy for being annoying in the first episode, and Stacy might vote her for telling her to shut it. Mike might vote with B, and they vote Scott cost B points to him. And then Scott votes for B for taking the toxic rat when he was trying to stall. And Lighting will probably vote Stacy for being annoying, but then we would have a tie. And in the original, since Maria quits while Brick is being eliminated, they do a double eliminated later for the merge to add back someone. So I think Chris would say they both will get eliminated. So now, episode 3. Now here, when Mike confessed his multiple personality disorder, Scott would have been there to listen, but since he got eliminated, Scott won't threaten Mike. So after the teams run up the hill, they need to climb up a hill. On that hill with stuff from a junk pile not a lot of people use. And Cameron falls without climbing a little in this challenge. I think he would do bad. Zoe almost fell in the original, but Mike caught her. But since they probably weren't on the same path, she might have fell and is in the infirmary, and Mike might not be able to go on, but then Svetlana might come out and keep going, and then Zoe gets kinda mad that Mike just left her like that. And in the original, Dawn and Sam are bad at it too, but B helps them. But now, since B isn't on their team, he won't help them, and Maria doesn't even participate. But in the original, Joe aggravated her, but that's to make her climb. In this one, they aren't on a team, so they still lose in Maria. Also, I think B would still make that chair thing, and with only 4 people they would win. So I'm the second part without Scott. The rats pick the castle, and the maggots have the shack, so Joe would beat Brick in the thumb wrestle again, and she would be captain, and without Maria, would probably pick Zoe and Sam to capture the flag. Lighting would take charge and pick himself and Maria. Sam might slip up like the original and freeze like in the original, and B probably wouldn't find the ice while he did in the shack in the original, and Maria might make it to the other side with her poof being literally titanium, and Lightning might knock out with a snowball like the original. And Svetlana won't come out cause Cameron won't be there to realize Mike's multiple personality disorder, so Vito won't come out, which means Maria won't be all over Vito yet. And Maria probably would take the flag and make a run for it back, so the toxic rats would win. Then when they're voting, since Cameron and Zoe are probably still friends, they vote together and vote Joe for being mean to Cameron. And since Brick and Joe are allies, they probably want to vote the weakest link, which Joe says is Sam. Then I think Zoe would ask Dawn to vote Joe and Sam votes Brick. So overall Joe would get the most votes and lose. So now episode 4. This one is kinda tricky. So Lightning would find the clue again? And without Joe's plan, the mutant maggots might just rely on Brick and Dawn's sense of direction, which they might find the second clue, but I think they rely more on Dawn's sense than Brick's. So Cameron might be the first. The spider gets. So when the maggots arrive at the octopus place, they send Dawn to talk to Octopus, who gives them the key. And then when Mike B, Lightning and Anne Maria get there, like the original, they fight the octopus. But I think without Scott thinking of throwing the rocks, Sam being on the other team, not telling anyone how to dodge the octopus, so Lightning goes for the key, but the octopus grabs him, and Svetlana might come out and go for the key, but since she takes too much time to stick the landing, she would probably get caught too. Anne Maria just using her hairspray and B probably thinking of a plan. So then the maggots go past the minefield, but maybe Zoe hits one and goes up, and then the spider webs her. And while this happens, B is probably going back to camp to get some explosives to use to stop the octopus. But that takes a while and the maggots get to the L cemetery. So then Sam probably gets the clue, and Brick suggests they all look for clues together. And Dawn knows that's because Brick is afraid of the dark, so I think Sam goes alone, and then the spider gets him. And then the same thing with the pothole happens. So Brick goes off alone, and the spider gets him. And with Dawn alone, the spider gets her too. So now, all the maggots have been caught by the spider. So then B probably frees Mike and doesn't notice Lightning is gone, and they get the key and go to the cemetery. So the rats are really the only people who can win, and they do. So Izzy sets everyone free after the challenge. So Brick tell them to vote him, since he left behind his teammates and he dishonored his code like the original. But then the twist happens and he's voted on the other team. So we can just delete episode for costs, there's no elimination. So to start off, in episode 5, Scott isn't there to steal people's stuff and blame it on Brick, so nothing happens there. For the diving challenge, Lightning isn't there to take the scuba gear and Joe was eliminated, so Brick still goes and Zoe goes for maggots. So Brick seemed to do good in the original, but that's because the shark was tugging on the air tube, but it would still happen because with Mike or B pumping it, it would go slow, but Lightning was able to do it very fast. So since the rats won the reward for the second part, they got the hood boat and the maggots got the bad one. But without Scott to purposely shoot the seagulls at his team and waste them, someone on the rats might be able to hit the most bells, leaving the maggots up for elimination. So with Cameron, Zoe, and Dawn in an alliance, they probably vote Sam, and Sam votes someone random. Zoe seems to do pretty good in the original, and without Sam to fix the duffel bag thing, the fashion for the Yeti would look horrible. The thing where they had to save Lindsay wouldn't happen because Dawn would talk to the ape and calm him down so the maggots are safe. So since Mike and B are in an alliance, and they convinced Anne Maria to vote with them, they would probably vote Brick or Lightning. I would say since Lightning has been helping a lot in challenges and Brick has been okay, they probably vote out Brick. Now here is the twist. When two people switch teams, I think Zoe would go for the maggots because Chris says 2 strong volunteers. And since Cameron thinks it's something physical, he asks Zoe to ask Dawn, but Dawn might like the team she's on, so then Zoe switches with Lightning because he's pretty vain. And since the graveyard thing happened, still, that means Mike goes to Zoe and has the talk he did on the dock. But I don't think there would be any distractions even though Anne Maria is on their team. Now in episode 7, Chris still sent in Dakota for testing, and Lightning would yell into the cave and the rocks would fall on his 3-person team like the original. So the rats get on the elevator with the flashlight, fall down and go through the tunnel again. And maybe lightning breaks through the rocks. And without bricks, plan to shimmy down the ropes? The maggots might not know, but Cameron would probably come up with a plan. And they would do something similar to shimmying. The rats in the lead. Mike find the hat that triggers Manitoba Smith, and with sense of direction, they go on the left, and with the mine carts, they probably split into 2 groups of 2. So then Anne Maria and Zoe fall in the water and Bee and Mike on the rocks. The maggots would get caught by Ezekiel too, and Dawn would talk to the gophers and they would set them free. So the maggots are in the lead and win. So then, they vote Anne Maria because she never agreed to an alliance, but just to vote with them, and she wouldn't care because of the fake diamond until Chris points out it's fake. So now remember, in the original, Dakota joined back because the maggots lost a player because Anne Maria quit, but she got eliminated here. But Chris also says he adds Dakota because she isn't doing well as an intern, so she still would join their team. Now, episode 8 here is the raft challenge. Manitoba Smith comes out, but I think Bee notices Mike acting weird with hats, so he takes off the hat. And since Dakota and Zoe aren't on a team, Dakota probably goes to Dawn so they can become allies. But Dawn knows why. She's being nice to her and tells Dakota she'll be her ally, but she can't vote Cameron because he's her ally. And then, Dakota starts becoming Dakota Zoid. Also, this is where Chris tells them someone found the McLean invisibility statue. Now, it's not Scott, but I'm not gonna say who unless they get the most votes. Cameron asks Lightning to row, but like in the original, he argues with Joe. But instead, he hits Cameron, and like Joe, Cameron knows how to make him wanna row. And the rats probably get their sign too, and row. Dawn on the maggots team will talk to the squid, and he'll let them through, but not the rats. Then the maggots have map and compass, so they have the advantage, and with Dawn's sense of direction, they probably find Sam and win. Also, since the rats have the chains and metal detector, which was the penalty that doesn't make it easy to win for them. So now, the rats probably vote Bee, because Mike won't vote Zoe, and Zoe won't vote Mike, and Bee would probably vote Zoe. So now, we are at the merge. We can delete the teams because they're disabled now. So this is where Cameron helps Mike with his multiple personality disorder, but instead of helping to vote Scott, Mike will do it to vote Lightning. Because on a team together, he was kinda mean to Cameron and Dawn. And now, everyone will try to vote out Lightning, because Dakota and Dawn are allies. Dawn and Zoe are allies, and Zoe and Cameron are allies. Mike is allies with Zoe. So Dawn would probably find a key, cause an animal would find it, and probably give it to her without Scott. Mike would save Zoe from that thing in the bucket, and like the original, Lightning would also find a key. Dakota Slid won't even be able to get in the cabin, and also since Mike helps Zoe, Zoe gets the key. Cameron also found the key. Like in the original, Mike finds the gold key, but instead of giving it to Scott, he has it for himself. And now, they all go to the go-karts. Dakota Zoid can't participate because she doesn't have a key, and Dawn could talk to the squirrels, but since they don't really listen, it is still hard for everyone. Without Scott, Mike is able to free Zoe, and without Scott, Mike gets the bad gold car. So maybe Zoe lets him ride with her, and Chef would probably capture Lightning in a cage again, and without Joe's plan would be stuck. Without Scott, Zoe would have all 3 landmarks and win immunity. Yes, I know there was a 4th landmark, but it didn't count, so Zoe won, and she picks Lightning to get voted off. Episode 10 now for the Zeppelin challenge. After Chris explains the rules, I think when they're picking their mode for air transportation, Dakota goes first, getting the hot air balloon. Dawn goes next and gets a helicopter. Zoe would get a plane like the original. Cameron gets a rocket, Mike a bird. Cameron would win with the rocket like the original, but instead of Joe stealing his fog machine, he would get to keep it. Also, Heather would still knock out Chris and throw him out of the Zeppelin, so the challenge would still change. So Cameron would win immunity just like the original. And then everyone probably votes Dakota Zoid. And she will vote Zoe. Now, we're at the final four, episode 11, so since Scott isn't there, he won't pour in the poison ivy on Zoe's salad, and Zoe would probably help Cameron get the mushrooms, and Dawn would refuse to make food out of any mutated plants and animals, because she says they've been through enough. Who knows what Mike makes. Also, since Scott isn't there, DG won't freak out, form the frog in Scott's quiche, so he would declare Cameron the winner. So now for the second part. Cameron has the advantage. So he won't make the device that disables everyone tracking collars, or maybe he will for his alliance of Mike and Zoe. Also, since Zoe, Mike, and Cameron are all friends, Dawn will be voted by the three of them if she loses. So I guess Cameron still disables the collars for Mike and Zoe, but not Dawn. And Zoe won't be mad because Scott picked Mike to get voted off, so Cameron won't win by hiding on Lightning's back. So I would say with Mike and Zoe make it, and Mike lets Zoe win, so they vote Dawn. So now, it's the final three, they vote Dawn, and now it's episode 11. That would be the case. But I think that when Dawn was cleaning up everything, she found the McLean invisibility statue, especially if Scott wasn't there to find it, so she knew they would vote her, and she voted Zoe for being kinda a traitor, and the thing that happened with Zoe where she was mad in the original still happens, but with Mike. And Mike tells her about his multiple personality disorder. So in this episode, I think since Mike and Cameron are a team, that's Svetlana. So he can do Cameron's plan, and Dawn can't calm down mutant animals that well, so she doesn't have an advantage, so regardless if Cameron or Mike win, Dawn's eliminated. So since after the end of each season, there's usually not a canon winner, so they both will have an ending. Anyway, that's the end of my video. I hope you enjoyed it.